Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude. Hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I do college football videos every single day. I don't miss a day. So now that all the games are in the books, it's time for my new top 25. Screw the AP top 25 and screw the coaches polls. Those usually don't make sense to me. Here's what the real top 25 should look like. But first of all, here's what my top 25 looked like last week. 1 Alabama, 2 Georgia, 3 Penn State, 4 Oregon, 5 Iowa, 6 Arkansas, 7 Notre Dame, 8 Cincinnati, 9 Ole Miss, 10 Florida, 11 BYU, 12 Michigan State, 13 Michigan, 14 Oklahoma, 15 Fresno State, 16 Ohio State, 17 Oklahoma State, 18 Kentucky, 19 Boston College, 20 Baylor, 21 Coastal Carolina, 22 SMU, 23 Texas A&M, 24 Auburn, 25 Maryland, and Wake Forest. First up, the teams that I knocked out of my top 25. I knocked number 25 Maryland out. They're 4-1, but they lost in a blowout at home to Iowa, 51-14. And I picked Maryland, so I look like an idiot for trying to pick that upset. I knocked number 23 Texas A&M out of my top 25 as well. They're 3-2, and they lost to a pretty bad Mississippi State at home, 26-22. Texas A&M is not looking good at all, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Knocked out number 20 Baylor. They're 4-1, and they lost to Oklahoma State on the road, 24-14. Not a horrific loss, but they were barely in my top 25 anyway, so that was enough to knock them out. I also knocked out number 19 Boston College. They're now 4-1, and they lost to Clemson on the road, 19-13. Once again, not a terrible loss, but it was enough to knock them out of my rankings. I also knocked out number 15 Fresno State. They are now 4-2, and they lost to Hawaii on the road, 27-24. That one I did not see coming. That's not a good loss at all. And I also knocked out number 10 Florida. They're now 3-2. They lost to Kentucky on the road, 20-13. I don't think that's a bad loss, but at this point in time, 2 losses gets you knocked out of my top 25. So without further ado, here is my actual top 25. Starting off with number 25, Pitt. Yes, I hate Pitt, but I think they've earned a top 25 ranking. They're 4-1. They did beat Georgia Tech on the road convincingly, 52-21. That was a blowout, and their only loss was to Western Michigan, which I made fun of them at the time, but Western Michigan might actually be a good team. Number 24, they were non-ranked last week, Texas. They are 4-1. They beat TCU 32-27 on the road. Their only loss was to Arkansas on the road. Yes, it was a blowout, but I think they've recovered enough to be in my top 25. So the 2 teams that I hate the most right now, I gotta rank them. Number 23, speaking of Western Michigan, yes, I have them ranked. They are 4-1. They beat Buffalo 24-17 on the road, and they have that road win against Pitt. I think that's enough for them to be a top 25 team. Number 22, Arkansas. They fall 16 spots in my poll. They're 4-1. They lost to Georgia on the road 37-0. Couldn't manage a single point. I kept you in my top 25, but barely. That was a humiliating loss. Number 21, NC State. I didn't have them ranked last week. I didn't think just beating Clemson erased losing to Mississippi State. But now they're 4-1. They beat Louisiana Tech at home 34-27. And that Mississippi State loss don't look as bad because Mississippi State beat Texas A&M. Number 20, rising 5 spots, Wake Forest. Somehow they're still 5-0. They beat Louisville 37-34 at home, but it was a nail biter, and it looked like Louisville was going to win that game for a little while. Number 19, falling 10 spots, Ole Miss. I think they held their own better than what Arkansas did on the road. Ole Miss went on the road, lost to Alabama 42-21. They're now 3-1, and I still think they're a pretty good team. Number 18, they were non-ranked last week for me. That's going to be UTSA. They're 5-0. They beat UNLV 24-17, but they have some other good wins. Lands them in my top 25. Number 17, falling 13 spots, Oregon. They are now 4-1. They lost to Stanford on the road in overtime 31-24. That might be the final nail in the coffin for the Pac-12. I don't think the Pac-12 is going to make the playoffs again. Number 16, falling 9 spots, Notre Dame. They're 4-1. They lost to Cincinnati at home 24-13. Not a horrific loss, so I didn't punish you as much as I did others, but it's still a loss at home. Number 15, rising 6 spots, Coastal Carolina. They're 5-0. They whooped the snot out of UL Monroe 59-6 at home, and they are still undefeated. Number 14, rising 10 spots, Auburn. They're 4-1. They went on the road and beat LSU at night. That's a big deal deal. I'm not saying LSU is great, but LSU was 3-1, and that's a tough place to get a win. They won 24-19, and I'm rewarding that good win. Up 10 spots. Number 13, SMU, up 9 spots. Yes, I had them ranked last week. They're a good team. They're 5-0. They beat South Florida 41-17 at home. They have some big games coming up. Number 12, rising 4 spots. Ohio State, they're 4-1. They embarrassed Rutgers 52-13 on the road and embarrassed me because, like an idiot, I thought Rutgers had a shot to upset Ohio State. They had absolutely zero shot. Number 11, rising 7 spots. Kentucky, yes, I had them ranked last week as well. I don't understand why the AP Top 25 hasn't had Kentucky ranked. I've been trying to tell everybody that they're a good team this year. I had them beating Florida, finishing second. So far, that's looking like a good pick. Right now, they're 5-0. They did get that win over Florida at home, 20-13. That's a massive win for Kentucky. Now, here's my top 10. Number 10, rising 7 spots. Oklahoma State, they're 5-0. They beat a pretty good Baylor team at home, 24-14. Schedule's gonna get tougher, though. Number 9, rising 5 spots. Oklahoma, they're 5-0. Finally got the monkey off their back. Went on the road, beat Kansas State 37-31. Looks like they're starting to gain momentum, but I still don't trust that offense just yet. Number 8, one of the biggest surprise teams so far, Michigan State, up 4 spots. 5-0. Beat a good Western Kentucky team at home, 48-31. Number 7, also rising 4 spots, BYU. They're 5-0. They go on the road and beat Utah State 34-20. Like an idiot, I tried to pick the upset there, and BYU proved once again that I shouldn't bet against BYU. Number 6, rising 7 spots, Michigan. Another surprise team. They're 5-0. They go on the road and stomp Wisconsin 38-17. Number 5, rising 3 spots, Cincinnati. They're 4-0. They beat Notre Dame on the road 24-13. So they survived their 2 biggest road tests at Indiana and at Notre Dame. Cincinnati could be an undefeated team by the end of the season rolls around and might have a legitimate shot of getting to the playoffs. We'll see. Number 4, Penn State. They fall 1 spot, but not because they did anything wrong. It's because another team looked really, really good. Penn State's 5-0. They beat Indiana 24-0 at home. Avenged that loss from last year where they lost on a 2-point conversion. That looked a little fishy, but Penn State has a brutal schedule coming up. A big-time matchup with Iowa on the road. Speaking of Iowa, number 3, rising 2 spots, Iowa. They are 5-0. They go on the road and embarrass Maryland 51-14. And once again, Golden Blue Dude was embarrassed because, like an idiot, I picked Maryland to upset Iowa. Number 2, falling 1 spot, Alabama. They are still 5-0. They did beat Ole Miss convincingly 42-21 at home. So I think Alabama's a really, really good team. But my number 1 team in the nation is Georgia, rising 1 spot. They're 5-0. They blank Arkansas 37-0 at home. So they beat a high-ranked team at home by a larger scoring margin than Alabama beat Ole Miss. And Arkansas didn't score a single point. Georgia looks like the number 1 team in the nation right now, and that's where I have them, number 1. Y'all let me know what you think of my rankings. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.